me about your family life. Well, I was the youngest of 4 children to my parents, my father Ken and Thomas Blackburn, and my mother, Margaret Stewart Brown. I was the first child to my father's second marriage, and I had 3 step-siblings. My father had a passion for collecting insects, so he moved to South Australia, where he believed it would be more suitable to pursue his passion. My father was strict but very kind-hearted. He set up his insect collection so that when he passed, the collection would be sold to the museum and the profits would go to myself and my siblings. My mother, Margaret, was 20 years younger than my father, and her parents felt that she was far too superior for my father. However, she didn't listen and their marriage turned out perfect. She was never known to give up or get tired of anything, but she had never had 4 naughty children. We tested her patience many times, but she never stopped loving us. What were your reasons for joining the war? I enlisted shortly after the outbreak of World War I. It was highly advertised as being an amazing honour and lots of fun to fight for your country. Everywhere I looked, all I saw were people asking you to join in fighting for your country, or even posters on the walls of the street. I was at the very front of the line and one of the first to enlist. Tell me about how the training was for you before war. Oh, training was hard, but it needed to be otherwise. We wouldn't have the smallest of ideas of how bad it was going to be once we got to the trenches. Training brought me closer to the boys, and we all became great friends. I mean, how could we not? We sweated together when they made us do endless laps, shivered together in the freezing cold in our big shed tent, and demolished our limited meals together. What was it like fighting in the war? The hardest part would have to have been when we first sailed into Gallipoli's grounds. The attack was not planned properly. From out at sea, our landing spot looked like a perfect spot to attack, but it was only once we got to shore that we realised it was almost impossible to scale up the cliffs leading off the beach. Our plan for attack was completely useless, as the landscape was drastically different. Many men were shot down before they could even touch the shore. I managed to reach the furthest inland along with my group, but fighting in the war was always terrifying. I was always questioning when one of the men being shot down next to me was going to be myself. I was lucky enough to survive the war. Did you have any jobs in the trenches when you weren't fighting? Yeah, we had a few jobs, but we also had downtime and time to sleep, while one man was on guard outside the tent. But we had some tasks to do daily. When we had finished tidying the trenches, we would move on to either digging more trenches or putting up barbed wire for protection. Putting up the barbed wire wasn't as bad as having to dig deep and long trenches for hours. With the barbed wire, you would get the occasional cut, but when you were digging for hours, everything gets super sore and leaves you in a lot of pain the next day. What were your positions in the war? My position in World War I was the 10th Battalion AIF Private Soldier when I first enlisted. However, when I re-enlisted to join the war again, my final rank once I left was Lieutenant Colonel, and my last position was the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion. What did you achieve at war? All the boys always made comments on how you shouldn't judge a book by its cover because of how scrawny and wimpy I look, but I was a great soldier. My greatest achievement and honour whilst I fought in the 2 wars was receiving the Victoria Cross for my bravery. How has war affected you? War has caused me to not only see the whole world differently, but I think mainly I've been left pretty scarred from the things I've seen and done. When you kill many people and see other people, your friends, being killed, it does something to you. I try to focus on the best things I can, like how I helped our country and fought alongside many amazing men, but I can't help feel that not only my mental health, but my physical health has been affected. Do you feel you were manipulated into joining to fight for the war? I don't think I was manipulated into joining, but there were certainly many people parading the streets acting like one big support group to join and fight the war, and it did persuade me. But I don't think I was manipulated. I believe I would have enlisted anyway. I just think all the advertising sped up the process. I'm glad I fought in the war because I had the honour of fighting for my country, surviving World War I and World War II, and I was blessed enough to receive the Victoria Cross for my bravery. What do you do now that you've been discharged? I was discharged from the First War in 1917 because I was declared medically unfit. So I went on to become a Member of Parliament when I was a very young age of just 26. I was a qualified lawyer, so in between World War I and when I rejoined for World War II, I was South Australia's state coroner.